Good afternoon. It is Sunday, July 30th, 2022, and coming to you from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington, this is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I am your host, David Lamm, and with me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
Hello, Parker.
You know what I haven't figured out?
What?
Why you get applause and I don't.
The audience the people will decide.
I feel like I did that wrong. I feel like this is there's something wrong with our
Well, yeah, because the host usually gets an applause.
our system set up. All right, hold on, time out.
Timing out.
All right, I'm back. Yeah, so I don't know. I had to get something out of the fridge. So yeah, I totally did this wrong. I totally need to have the cue for the people. It needs to be when I come on, and then the crickets.
Or it needs to be a different kind of
applause.
cue. Yeah, it needs to be like a longer, more sustained one.
Right. Yeah, because you don't see that on the talk shows when they introduce the band leader. They don't get nearly the applause.
No, that's right. It's short.
Yeah.
When Jimmy Fallon goes, "The Roots."
The Roots. That's right.
It goes away.
When David Letterman introduces Paul Schaefer, that's dating myself. But that's okay. So we're on YouTube, right? And we're on Twitter at Lamm Sports. We're on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lammsports@gmail.com, and you can check out our webpage, which is literally just lammsports.com. You can find the links to the past shows and the current trivia question on the website. We are going to talk about some stuff. This is our NFC preview show. We are starting our NFL preview today, and we're going to talk about the NFC because that's where the reigning champions are. Plus, I think the AFC is going to be a little closer. We're going to have more debate about who's in the AFC, I think. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. We're going to discuss all 16 teams quickly, some of them very quickly because there's not much to say. But we're going to talk about them. And then our outlook for what's coming up in this season and who we think might win the NFC. There's new players, right, from the draft. We got rookies. We got old players in new places. We got all kinds of things to talk about and speculate on. Some teams will just have more of the same. You're going to see the same thing you saw last year. And some of that's good and some of that's bad. But we're going to start with some breaking news. I gotta change the thing, but we're going to start with some breaking news. And NBA legend Bill Russell has passed away at the age of 88. Russell was a standout at every level, winning 2 national championships at University of San Francisco and being named an All-American twice. Russell was a member of the 1956 U.S. Olympic team, winning a gold medal. During 13 years as a Boston Celtic, Russell led the team to the finals 12 times, and they won 11 titles. Russell was a 5-time MVP and 12-time All-Star. He finished his career with 21,620 rebounds, an average of 22.5 a game. He also averaged 15.1s and 4.3 assists in his career. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by former President Barack Obama in 2011, which is the nation's highest civilian honor. In 2013, he was honored by the city of Boston with a statue in their City Hall Plaza. In 2017, he was awarded the NBA Lifetime Achievement Award, and in 2021 was named to the NBA's 75th anniversary basketball team. A statement on social media said Russell died peacefully at his home with his wife Janine at his side. So, NBA legend Bill Russell, dead at the age of 88. Not to be a downer, but kind of had to lead with that.
Sure.
So, at the time was before Michael Jordan was the greatest NBA player ever, probably. Right? Had that moniker. He was the GOAT at that point. Just because of the things he did in such a short period of time. I mean, anytime you lead a team to 12 finals in 13 years, Michael didn't do that. So, anyway, there you go. Back then it was just the Celtics anyway. So
it just shows how one physically dominant player can.
Yeah.
At that time, one physically dominant player that was so unique, so different, so much taller, so much stronger, could just absolutely destroy everyone else.
And he was like the original shot blocker. He's like the guy who started the shot block movement, if you want to call it that. And before him, there wasn't really that much. I mean, it didn't happen very often, but he also he grabbed 51 rebounds in a game and 49 twice.
Be curious to know about how terrible the shooting was there.
Well, and that's part of it. If you're a shot blocker too, and you can alter the way people shoot, people start shooting poorly around you. And back then there was no 3-point line, so
I would be curious to know what his farthest shot ever made was. I'm sure he hit a half quarter, but let's exclude like last second heats. I'd be curious to know if he ever took a 30-footer just because.
Oh, I doubt it.
There's
Why
no
would
reason.
you? There's no reason. Yeah, I mean, I would
I
imagine.
mean, unless you're open.
I would.
That's
well,
the reason.
but that's only nowadays. That's nowadays thinking. That's not back then. Back then it was like, yeah, there's a 30-footer and you're open, but why? When I could just pass it inside and muscle a guy out of the way and score. That was the old style thinking. But he was. I mean, I would imagine if he took one farther than the free throw line, they was probably in trouble. Somebody probably got mad at him. So, anyway, I had to start with that. We had to lead off with that. But before we get started with the rest of it, I guess let's move to that. The first part of the show is brought to you by The Range, because we didn't really do that. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting destination. If you haven't checked them out, go to therangellc.com and you'll find all of the training, membership, and VIP information and opportunities. Check out their calendar. Under the events tab, you can find the complete schedule for the month. You can enroll for most of the events and training online with a few simple clicks. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. The phone number is 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamb Sports Show. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So we're going to move right into the trivia question, which is weird, but it's just kind of how we're going to do it. I don't have a better way to do it. The Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stone Wine Estates in Hood River is this. Since this is our NFL, half of our NFL preview. Only one time in the history of the NFL has the Associated Press Coach of the Year had a losing record. They've been handing this out since 1957, the Coach of the Year. Only one time in the history has the coach had a losing record. What we're asking is, what coach and what year?
Has the coach had a losing record?
Yeah.
Get to the finals or win the finals?
What's that?
You said only one time in the history of the NBA Finals has a coach had a losing record. Sorry.
Hold on. Let's go back.
Say that one more time then.
The whole question is this. Only one time in the history of the NFL.
The NFL. Sorry, I thought you said NBA Finals because we were talking about Bill Russell. Sorry.
No, because we're doing the NFL preview. Has the AP Coach of the Year had a losing record for the season?
Gotcha. I know the answer.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Okay. So, all right, hold on to it then. We'll see if you're right at the end. I feel like, really? You already know it?
I think I do. I think I remember the one that they announced on there. That It was like part of like a trivia thing that they showed on one of the Monday Night Footballs.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That means I picked good trivia questions. Anything to do with it. I just thought I would say that. All right, but before we get to the NFL, one more thing we want to talk about, and just give people an update because that's kind of what we do here. Is an update on the Brittney Griner situation, in case anybody wanted to know, and I'm not sure they do. The United States has offered to give up Victor Boat, the guy we talked about the last episode. Yeah, convicted arms dealer Victor Boat for Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan. And I guess the question becomes: should we do that? Is that something the United States should be doing? Is it? What are we getting? And what are we potentially giving up? And we assume that these trumped up charges against everybody in Russia, that they're not true, that they're not really a big deal. Right.
While also assuming that we wouldn't do that.
And assuming that we wouldn't do that. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
That we wouldn't hold a person prisoner for political reasons.
Right. Who wasn't actually guilty. Right.
Yeah. Well, or kind of guilty. kind of guilty. So I guess the way to phrase that is like we all like. There's no doubt that Brittney Griner had this thing she had. Right.
Yeah.
But the punishment doesn't match the crime.
For
like
us.
world over, pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
So that could be a similar thing where somebody's doing something wrong and we're like, all right, well, we're going to take this to the max.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Victor Boat is a bad person. Really? I mean, I'm seeing him on here. He actually sold, or was supplying arms to a number of different people. Dictators in Africa. Muammar Gaddafi was one of those things. He's been accused of arming Al-Qaeda. He was listed during the Clinton administration as the number 2 target for the United States after Osama bin Laden.
He's a salesman.
He's a big deal. And the character that Nicolas Cage plays in Lord of War, if you've ever seen that movie,
I have,
is loosely based on this guy.
It's interesting because, in my head, I think I think of him as a salesman, right?
Yeah.
He didn't, as far as we know, at least based on what I've read, he's never shot anyone. He just sold weapons that shot people.
Right.
That's damnable when he does it. But when just ex gun shop in Florida does it, and sells it to some kid who then goes and shoots up a school, that's okay because he went through the right channels, or he went through our right channels, or something like that. I mean, this guy just bought weapons off of the collapse of the Soviet Union and just redistributed them to other parts of the world. That's all he really did. Not that that's simple. Not that that's that's boiling it down, but it's just a very interesting thought. What he did, what he's done, and how responsible is he? This is where you get into the moral question.
Right.
He sold weapons to people who were committing mass genocide and things like that, but he's just a salesman. Ford couldn't be, the dude at the Ford dealership couldn't be held liable for selling a car to somebody who drove through a parade.
Right.
Right. How culpable are you if things are going wrong? But he knew he was selling to bad people, and he knew he was selling to people who were going to use them for bad things.
That's what I was going to say.
But see, his crime is that he's amoral. The selling of the weapons is hit or miss because they're not legislated. Russia wasn't legislated. Right. Actually, he's not from Russia. He's from somewhere else, Tajikistan.
He was born in Tajikistan.
That's right. They're not legislated the same way that we are. So again, a crime in our country, what everyone's screaming about with Brittney Griner, is saying, "Oh, well, you committed the crime over there. You do the time over there." It's like, well, he didn't sell any guns, as far as we know, here in America. But he's doing American jail time.
He was actually picked up by a sting in Bangkok or somewhere.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was the DEA that led it, though. It was our DEA. That led the sting.
And that was in conjunction with Interpol and trying to help the world be a better place. And I get that, but it's just that type of, every part of this whole issue is just dripping with being a hypocrite one way or the other. So it's tough. But I don't think it's worth it necessarily.
I mean, I don't want to devalue any human life one way or another. But if you give this guy back to Russia, and they're not going to do anything to him because maybe he's helpful to them. Maybe he's a spy as well. Maybe I don't know. But what are they going to do with him if he's helping sell arms to people that are allies with Russia, and they do harm to the United States or United States citizens? Is that okay? I mean, it's not okay on our end, but is that, you got 2 people back. Okay, well, we got a basketball player.
Right. And a former security chief. And
a guy that was kicked out of the Marine Corps for larceny-related items. Larceny-related activity. So, okay. So,
it's such an interesting one.
Right. It is weird. And
and the question is Victor Bout, if he gets traded and he goes back over there, is he still any kind of threat?
Right.
He was capitalizing on a moment in time when there was a surplus of weapons and no one knew what to do with them.
So here's the thing that I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. And this is not necessarily true for sure, but this is my opinion. So what's gonna happen is this guy Paul Whelan, right? Who I don't know from Adam, but I just can read about his history, right? Is gonna come back to the United States and write a book about his time in a Russian prison and about the experience. And he's going to make millions of dollars for being arrested as a spy in Russia.
Sure.
And I'm like, right? He's going to capitalize on it because that's the American way. Victor here is probably not going to be doing that. Victor is probably not going to get to write a book in Russia that's a bestseller. And you know what I mean? It's kind of weird the way things will happen with these people.
Would you buy that book?
I would.
If Victor Bout wrote a book that kind of talked about his life and all the things he's done, his imprisonment.
Oh, God, I'd want to read that, yeah.
I'd want to read it too, but would that make us giving money to a convicted arms dealer?
It absolutely would.
Again,
it absolutely would.
Dripping with hypocrisy one way or the other.
I'm not talking about me being hypocritical because that's true. I'm just I'm just saying. I've bought a lot of books and I read about a lot of things, and absolutely some of those people are very bad people. But you know what? That's how you know things, or you get inside, you know, how they're thinking or what happened, because there's only one way is to hear both sides of something, right? I know what our side is saying about him, but I don't know what he's going to say about himself. But I would absolutely read that book. Absolutely. And I probably read Paul Whelan's book too, but I don't.
Would you read Brittney Griner's book?
No. No, I know what happened.
It's interesting. I'd be curious to hear what people are saying to her
over there.
Like there, like what the Russian authorities are saying to her, and maybe the moments of the arrest and just after, and how that was probably kind of a crazy whirlwind to somebody who didn't think that would be that big of a deal or be that big of a problem, or again maybe didn't know.
Yeah.
There was a guy who was in TSA who was on my flight. He was in TSA ahead of me.
Yeah.
And they put his bag through the machine. It was like 4 people ahead of me. And the next thing you know, 3 security guards come over. They all pick up his bag and they take it into a room. And then they flag him and they take him in there too. I'm pretty sure he had a gun in his bag and didn't know. So the question is, how do you not know?
How do you not know what you packed?
You just travel with a gun so often,
right,
that you forget that it's on your persons or on your bag.
I can kind of in the military, if you had a go bag, a bag that was already packed and ready for you to grab and run, right? Because you got an emergency or there's a short timeline or whatever, I could understand that. As a regular U.S. citizen, I don't have one of those. I don't have a go bag.
He was wearing like an old Marine Corps cap. Like he was like in his late 50s, 60s, wearing like an old Marine Corps cap. So maybe he's just still living that
could be
bag life.
And he might have multiple guns, and he just doesn't know where all of them are, and he forgot there's one in there. I mean,
it might not have been a gun, but usually when groups of people like remove it from an environment, and then a group of people come remove you from the environment, it's probably not like a weed pen. It's probably something serious.
Yeah, he had something in there that they were
something
concerned
worth
about.
Or 6 members of security,
or he was wanted, right?
But they would have flagged that at the what's it called, at the check-in counter.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
so Cassie's brother, my wife's brother, he's John Coleman, is the same name as somebody who was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list for about however many years, and so he kept getting flagged every time he went to the airport to check in. He'd check in and then immediately have to go talk to security.
That's fun.
And it was this way for a while. It's not that way anymore, but it was a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then every time we tried to enter the country, it was a pain.
I imagine it probably would be. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird that would happen, but yeah, there's probably something in the bag that's contraband. I mean, could have been drugs. It could have been.
But so if this 50, let's say 65-year-old vet can make a mistake like that going into an airport, can we at least acknowledge that maybe Brittney Griner could?
Yeah, absolutely. She could have made
a mistake. Possible.
Yeah.
I don't think it happened that way. I think she brought it. She knew she was bringing it.
So here's the thing: is maybe I didn't read this. I don't understand, but I think she was on her way out of the country.
She was leaving. Yeah.
So she already had it there. It's not like she knew that it was there. There was no way you can tell me that she didn't know it was in the bag.
Unless she didn't think she had put anything in that pocket, and it was just still sitting in that pocket.
But what I'm saying is maybe because they didn't find it on the way in.
Right.
So either they didn't look for it, right? Or
airport security is a joke.
or she had it, and when she left the United States, they looked at it and said, "Oh well, I've got a note. I give my doctor, blah 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 blah." But at that point, she knew she had it when she was there, and it was up to her to realize that it was illegal to have it there.
Or she didn't realize. All right, here's a great example. Cassie put a little thing of hand sanitizer in one of the pockets of my backpack.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I had anything in that pocket. So guess what I did? I never checked that pocket. Didn't check it when I was flying there. Didn't check it when I was getting up, packing up to fly back.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, at airport security, they're like, "Oh, this thing's too big. You got to throw it away." I'm like, "How the hell did that get in there?"
4 ounces.
It's because Cassie put it in the bag, and I never looked in the pocket.
And here's the thing that kills me, that just makes me laugh about the whole thing. If you have a container that's 5 ounces big, and there's just a smidge, 1 ounce of whatever in it, you can't take it. It's illegal because the container's too big. If you have a 1 ounce container that has 1 ounce of something in it, you're allowed to take it on. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because
they don't want you mixing the
I guess
whatever you've got in the container with the alcohol on the plane and creating
You're not going to give me a cup or anything, right?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's the size of the container. It's not what's in it necessarily. It's, this container's too big. You're only allowed 3-ounce containers. If you have 4 ounces, well, now we can't have it. But you can have 4 ounces as long as they're in separate 3-ounce containers. That's okay. That doesn't make any sense. But hey, whatever. So
the world is funny. But yeah, this trade, I don't think it's a great deal. But I also don't know what. Maybe Paul Whelan was a spy,
right?
And he does contain valid information.
And if that's the case, they're going to want him back. The United States will want him back. I mean, you don't want him over there because who knows what he'll spill.
And would you expect the United States to put out there that he's really valuable?
Right.
No, they're going to be like, no, he's dishonorable discharge. He's a nobody.
Want him.
That guy.
You can keep him.
And secretly, they're like, give him back. Give him here.
You can keep him. Well, and there was the other part where when the United States, what's his name? Gosh, I don't even remember the guy's name. Who announced this? The guy from the U.S. Secretary of State? Is that who it was? No. What's his name? Shinkin? Is that right? I don't remember. Anyway, the guy that announced this, that he was doing this with his Russian counterpart, they were negotiating. Then the Russians said, well, you need to keep it on the down low. Stop talking about it. And I'm like, well, why would you not want anyone to know?
Well, they don't want public outrage for Victor Bout.
Maybe.
They would rather the U.S. not succumb to public pressure to not let him out.
Well, what I think the Russians are saying is we don't want our people to know that we're giving up 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Because we're not getting the better end of that deal. You're getting 2 prisoners, we're only getting 1. And all of this, when Paul Whelan was arrested, it was right after the United States had arrested Maria Butina for infiltrating the NRA and becoming a big deal in those circles, and she was a spy. She was a spy. And that's when he got arrested. It was after the United States arrested what's her name. So I don't know. It's interesting. This whole thing is dripping with intrigue, and who knows? Maybe Brittney Griner's a spy. I don't know.
Oh, now we're talking. Now we're
talking
with the good conspiracy.
Yep. And maybe she's the actual spy, and Whelan is just a red herring. That's
right.
He's out there. I don't know. I mean, nothing more conspicuous than a 7-foot black female spy in Russia.
They would never see it coming.
They never see it coming.
And she can dunk.
I mean,
how many spies do you know that can dunk?
None. I mean, she doesn't act like a spy. Anyway.
On second thought, the entire foreign basketball system is riddled with spies.
I don't know. I like these pictures, though, of Boat. This one.
He has kept that mustache in
this
check.
One. It is pretty much the same, isn't it, right?
Yeah.
This was when he was arrested in Thailand. And there's Paul Whelan. And, of course, he's going to put... Here's my question. Why is it...
Meatball surgery. What does that even mean?
I don't know what meatball surgery means. You're going to have to look that one up. But here's my question. Why... Paul Whelan is a citizen of the United States, Ireland, and England. Or Canada. Wait a minute. It's Canada. I can't remember. He's born in Canada. Why is it the United States' responsibility to get him out?
Oh, because he knows something.
He's got triple citizenship. 3 different countries.
He has value to the United States enough to
Obviously.
Keep Russia. I mean, Russia's not a stupid country. They know something. He's worth something, and not just because he's not a public figure. He knows something, and yeah. He just seems like that sweater's awful that he's wearing.
That's a classic dad sweater. There's nothing wrong with that.
Classic Russian sweater.
It would be red.
True.
I don't know. So anyway, there's that. I don't know. I just had the picture, and this is Maria Butina, who the United States.
That's exciting.
Yeah, right. She's the Russian spy.
Nice.
Anyway, I know. So I better show everybody the pictures because sometimes I forget to hit the button. Let's move along because that's really the first half of the show. Oh, one more thing of news of note. We're going to talk about the Timbers. Portland Timbers currently on a 7-game unbeaten streak after tying Minnesota yesterday 4-4. Just FYI, they haven't lost since May. Which, wow.
Classic Timbers.
We'll see. They're in 7th place right now. They're only 1 game out of 6th place. So they're moving up just like they do at the end of the season. We'll see how it goes. Just thought I would give everybody that update because that's what I do. I think we're done with this. And so I think we're done with this. And we're not going to talk about this, which brings us to the second half of the show. Even though we're not really halfway, we're going to call it halfway. Second half of the show brought to you by Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. I don't even have the ad, so I really don't even know what I'm talking about. Be sure to tune into BossKittyLive.com for knit-alongs, games fun, and exclusive sales. Go on the BossKittyShop.com website. Get your kitty glitter yarn. If you're looking for a gift, get them a Boss Kitty Shop virtual gift card and let them pick it out themselves. That's Boss Kitty Hand-Dyed Yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. All right. Second half of the show, which is really is all we're here for, is NFL preview, right?
Yep.
Yep. The rest of this is just garbage. It's just setup,
So,
foreplay. So so we're gonna look at the upcoming NFL season right now. Over the next 2 weeks, we're gonna cover the NFC right now. We're gonna talk about the NFC East right off the bat, though. Are you ready?
Yep.
In order of how they finished last year. And let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys first. Dallas Cowboys last year 12-5. They lost in the wild card round to San Francisco 23-17. 2022 will be the 34th season under Jerry Jones. He's 288 and 241 with 3 Super Bowl wins, but he's had 8 head coaches and just 7 10-win seasons since 1999 for the Cowboys. Yeah, the NFL they were the NFL's number 1 offense last year. In 2021. They're also the most penalized team in the NFC in 2021. They return in what? They got Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, who's just a beast on defense.
Oh, wait, they don't have Amari Cooper. They traded him to Cleveland.
Right. I put that in here earlier.
That takes a hit to their receiving stock.
Does it, though? Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And is Ezekiel Elliott any good anymore? Is he still...
He's still really good. He's just not, he's not as good as he was, I think.
Okay.
He's trending downward. Like, if he was a 93 in Madden, he's now like an 84. Like, he's still good. He still has value, but he hasn't put it together on the field in a few years. That being said, Tom Brady's gone up and down in his Madden ratings a couple times.
Well,
he can go back up.
That happens. I mean, for sure. What you see is that Ezekiel Elliott, as a rookie in 2016, ran for 1,631 yards, 15 touchdowns. In 2018, a couple of years later, 1,400 yards. In 2019, 1,300 yards. The last 2 seasons are 979 and 1,002. His yards
little light.
His yards per carry has dropped from a career high of 5.1. Last year was 4.2. I feel like he's not quite the same guy. I mean, maybe, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was an injury or if it was, he got, I don't know. Who knows?
He got paid.
He got paid. Yeah, it could be.
You got paid.
You do what you do for 3 years and then you got paid and now he's not as good. That's entirely possible. I don't know, but I feel like that's a team that in the overall scheme of the NFC East, I think they're still the best team in the NFC East.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think that it's their division to lose.
Yeah. And so if we talk about the other teams in that division, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. 9-8 last year, made the playoffs, lost in the wild card to Tampa Bay 31-15. Were down 31-0 before they scored. They were much improved last season. They were 4-11 and 1 in 2020. So to make the playoffs was a big jump. They were the number 1 rushing offense in 2021, despite having only 2 games where they had a 100-yard rusher.
Huh.
Isn't that weird? And most of that was Jalen.
That means that they have a running back by committee then.
Well, Jalen Hurts led the team in rushing 6 games. So they had a good rushing quarterback and a fairly good rushing group of running backs, but they just, as a whole, they get a lot of rushing yards. No one guy has them, yeah. They did give up 92 points to Dallas in 2 games last year. So there's that. They got to figure out a way to beat the Cowboys. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard, A.J. Brown from Tennessee now.
That could be a big addition.
Yeah, and maybe Devin Allen. We don't know.
And maybe Devin Allen. Come on.
Yeah, linebacker Kazir White, who joins him from the Chargers. Right, he had 144 tackles, a sack, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions last year with the Chargers. He could be a big pickup. And then they got quarterback James Bradbury from the Giants, who had 4 interceptions last year. This is a team I think that is going to be right there with the Cowboys. If they figure out a way to beat them, they could win the division. But so far, they haven't shown us that they can do that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that they're the team with the most upside. I think
Yeah.
we've seen what Dallas can do topped out. I think that Philly's the team that they've added enough pieces. They did a little bit last year, and you keep thinking they're going to improve. And if they improve enough, they'll overtake Dallas.
Yeah. I think that they have the ability. I just don't know that they're going to be able to put it all together. They don't have the experience necessarily yet, playoff experience. Cowboys still have playoff experience, so even not great. It's not great playoff experience, but they've got it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you only get it by going there. They got there last year, so we'll see if they can improve on. But 9 wins last year. I mean, I don't know if you can improve a whole lot. In that division. That division was, remember, just 2 years ago in 2019, that division was terrible. Like nobody wanted to win any games. They were all like 8-8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season, no one was trying to win.
Yeah, it was terrible. Other teams in that division: Washington Commanders, who just announced, by the way, that Chase Young's going to miss the season opener at a minimum.
Awesome.
Which he has the talent. He's very gifted. He's got to be on the field. He doesn't do him any good, right? So
Sure.
the list of guys on the team: Carson Wentz, ? Antonio Gibson, ? Terry McLaurin, ? Chase Young, that's a question mark. That's the whole Washington Commanders. I mean, Jonathan Allen had 9 sacks last year for them, and there's always Taylor Heineke in case there's a problem, right?
That's right.
I don't know. How do you feel about the Washington Commanders in general?
I feel like it all hinges, like they were a decent enough team, but it all hinges on Carson Wentz. Is he finally going to put together a season that's similar to his early years, or is it just going to be kind of more of the same, underperforming, underwhelming? And if it is, then that whole team's it's going to cap out at 7 wins at the most and probably not do much else.
So 7-10 last year were the
yeah.
So who knows if that's going to be good enough? I mean, you got to get at least 2 more wins, right? You got to be 9-8 at a minimum, probably, to make the playoffs in the NFC.
Yeah, two to improve.
You need 2 to get there because 8-9 won't do it.
Because usually you can chalk up a handful of games that were like 1-score games that maybe you made a mistake or something like that. So yeah, 2 to improve.
Yeah, I think so too. The Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, had the number 1 rushing offense in terms of yards, 2,700 rushing yards last year, which is amazing, I think. They also had the 25 rushing touchdowns, which led the NFL. Weird. I just didn't picture them as that team, I guess.
Yeah, I had not put it together that they were a big rushing team.
Me either. And there aren't that many big rushing teams in the NFL. That's part of the thing, is that there aren't that many. Anyway, Giants. The Giants are the bottom dwellers. They're 4-10 last year, or 4-13, last year. Number 1 in turnovers in 2021. Brian Daboll is going to try and right the ship. He's the new head coach in New York. Daniel Jones. He's trying to make Daniel Jones the next Josh Allen, because Daboll was the coach for Josh Allen in Buffalo. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't think Daniel Jones is that guy. He's got some talent. I just don't think he's a great NFL quarterback or will ever be a great NFL quarterback. But I haven't seen him with great players, because Saquon Barkley, number 1, isn't ever on the field.
And he keeps getting hurt.
Yeah, I thought a great. At times he looks brilliant, and then he gets hurt, and then he's out.
Yeah, they've got some really good pieces on this team.
The defense.
So between Saquon and Tooney and Robinson, they've got some really good offensive pieces. But on defense, yes, they've got some good pieces as well.
The defense is going to be loaded. The defensive line: Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Azeez Ojulari are going to be good. That is going to be one. It's going to remind you of the 86, 87 New York Giants that went to a Super Bowl defensively. But their offense has to be able to turn that into something. If the defense can create some turnovers, maybe they can improve. Their 4-13 was pretty bad. But they're going to have to win it with defense, I think. Or trade for something.
Yeah. I think, well, remember a couple of years ago, their defense was like number 2 defense in the league.
Yeah.
But they were not doing well.
Yeah.
It was such a weird team.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be kind of their theme again, which is where they're winning games on defense and you're not really sure how the heck this is happening.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. I don't defensively. I was trying to get to the. Where is it? I don't have it. I don't have the thing advanced. So defensively last year, the New York Giants had 34 quarterback sacks. Okay, which puts them somewhere around 20th in the league. And I think with the addition of Kayvon Thibodeau they're going to be better. I think they're going to improve on that. Leonard Williams is a beast too. So I just got a feeling that they're going to get more pressure on quarterbacks. It's going to be harder for them to run and or throw against them. And if they can get some more turnovers, sacks, interceptions, force something, the offense will eventually have to score. So I just think they need one more piece on offense. They got to trade for somebody. I think you got to get a new running back. I think you got to move past Barkley at some point. But what do I know?
I don't think you move past him just yet because he's still got a lot of upside. He's gotten injured twice. So we'll see if it happens. If it happens a third time, I think you move past it.
Okay. I can be. I
like
can,
George Bush said, "Fool me once, shame on me.
I can
Fool me twice.
I can be.
Can't fool me twice."
I can't fool me twice. That's right.
They lost 3 games last year by 3 points or less. So turn those into wins. Show that 2-game improvement, and
right.
We can start thinking about the Giants in 2 years.
Barkley had 13. He played in 13 games last year. 593 yards rushing, 3.7 yards a carry, which isn't great. But in 2020 he only played in 2 games. Got hurt in game 2. So his rookie season he had 1,300 yards in 2018. So he would look like the guy. And now the injuries are taking their toll. I feel like, okay, let's give him another season, sure, and then I'd move on. I would just move on to somebody else because he's not going to be that. If he's only going to give you 600 yards a year and only going to be on the field for 13 games, you're not getting enough out of that. So, but anyway, what do I know? I don't know anything. Nobody listens to me. They don't care. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Move to the NFC South. Oh, let's back up. Cowboys in the NFC East?
Cowboys
in the NFC East. Okay, we both got the Cowboys in there. Okay, perfect. Does anybody else in that division make the playoffs?
Not if the Cowboys make it. I think only one team out of that division is going to make the playoffs.
Okay, there we go. All right, let's move on. NFC South. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Todd Bowles takes over as the head coach, right?
Yep.
They were 13-4 last year. Lost in the division playoffs to the Rams, 30-27. And what was a great game, by the way. The divisional playoffs last year were like the best 4 football games.
Bills, Chiefs, and Rams, Tampa. It was so good. It was a great weekend to be alive.
That was so good. So they were the NFL's number 2 offense in 2021. You got Tom Brady coming back, obviously. Julio Jones now joins. Mike Evans, Curtis Godwin. Curtis? Did I say it right? I got the wrong guy. Godwin.
I'm not sure.
What's Godwin's
Godwin.
last name?
Chris Godwin.
Chris. I said Curtis. It's Chris. Anyway, Cameron Brate, Kyle Rudolph from Minnesota at tight end. I didn't realize they had acquired him, but they did. They're going to be good. I mean, it's still Tom Brady. He's still protected. He still can get rid of the football. He's still accurate. I just, without Gronk, they're a little down, right?
Right.
You would think.
I don't know.
Okay.
Hard to say. Like, I want to say yes. I want to say sure Gronk is that big of an important deal. But I've also never really seen Tom Brady throw it to anybody else. And when he was throwing it to anybody else, those guys were being successful.
That's true.
Cameron Brate was doing just fine when Gronk wasn't on the field. I don't know.
You don't know exactly what the comfort level is for Tom Brady without him on the field. I mean, Gronk was always that safety valve. So
I need to see Gronk not on this team for a full year. I still
true.
think he's going to end up on this team, though.
Oh, probably. Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. He's one of the top offensive linemen in the NFL. Is a running game necessary in Tampa? We know that Leonard Fournette reported at 700 pounds, but is it necessary? Do they need a running game, or do they just need a threat to run because of the way they play?
They need a competent running game. Okay. Good enough. You don't have to do a lot. I need you to get 3 or 4 yards carry.
Okay.
Like, if you can do that, that'll keep our offense or our passing game open, and we'll be fine.
Is Leonard Fournette that guy?
He's good enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that just about anybody in this league who's like within the top 2 on the depth charts is good enough.
Okay.
They don't have to be great, just good enough. And then this all comes down to the line too. But Tom Brady gets good linemen. He rewards good linemen.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So.
And then their linebacking core, Levante David, Devin White, Shaquille Barrett, probably the best in the NFL.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and that helps a lot. Those guys are very versatile. They can cover, they can run stop, they do all kinds. They can blitz. That's a good group right there. Yeah, I don't know. Their defense is still going to be good. it's still an interesting division that they probably will win again. But let's talk about the other teams first before we decide that. New Orleans also has a new head coach, right? Dennis Allen takes over as head coach of the Saints. They were 9-8 last year. They led NFL defenses in yards per rush attempt at 3.7. That's an interesting stat to me. I'm like, okay, so you're really good at stopping the run. They didn't do very well against the pass, however, which is what happens. As a team defense, the Saints were technically 6th overall in terms of. Wait, that's not true. Hold on, let's back up. In a team, I had the wrong click on. In a team defense setting, the Saints were 26th overall in terms of total yards, and yet they stopped the run better than any team in football. So that just tells you the secondary maybe not being as good as they'd like it to be, or they're not getting enough pressure on quarterbacks. I don't know. I don't know which one of those it is.
They're also kind of blown up because they played in a division that had Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's true.
2 games a year throwing the ball across your head, and Matt Ryan. Who, say what you want to say about him, he's a fantastic quarterback. Right. So they played 4 games a year against 2 really great quarterbacks.
That's true.
So that's true. It's not going to shape up well for you. And then they had some injuries in the season and things like that on defense that weren't helping them. But yeah, they need to shore up that pass defense. I think it's going to be better this year because I think that Tampa Bay is going to take a step back from their productivity from last year. And then so is Atlanta. So their defense is going to step up.
Michael Thomas is supposedly back.
Allegedly.
We're going to find out for sure if he's actually back. But if he's back and healthy, that's a gigantic win for the Saints. In terms of what Jameis Winston has. Thomas played in 7 games last year. He had 40 catches. Prior to that, his lowest receiving total in his career was 92 as a rookie. He had 92 catches as a rookie. He had 1,000 yards for 4 straight years before last year when he got hurt. If he's back and healthy and can get back to that 1,100, 1,200 yard mark, catching 100 balls, this is a different team. It opens up things for Jameis Winston. If Jameis Winston is going to be the Jameis Winston we've seen that can throw 30-something touchdown passes without 30-something interceptions.
Well, even if he throws 30-something touchdown passes and 30-something interceptions, the record still worked in his favor those years. Like when he was doing,
it's true.
It showed this is an offensive game. Score points.
It's true.
Like defensive side, you just get a couple of stops here and there, but if you score points on your possessions, you'll be fine. I think the addition of Michael Thomas back into the roster, it's going to open up Alvin Kamara a little bit, which is good. But also adding Chris Olave is going to be
it's a big deal.
It's a threat that's gonna spread it out a little bit. So I'm really hoping, and having Jameis Winston and not using that running back, tight end, quarterback combo at the quarterback spot was going to be a much better situation for him.
They haven't really. I mean. So Winston last year played in 7 games, right? And 1,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions in his 7 games. That's pretty good. The year before, he only played in 4 games. He's only played in 11 games as a Saint in 2 years. So he's got to be healthy. And we've got to not have the quarterback controversy and not have freaking what's his name throwing passes.
Taysom Hill.
Yes.
The important thing is they've got Andy Dalton on this roster.
Andy Dalton is now the backup quarterback. Yeah.
So if Jameis Winston goes down, I don't feel bad about their ability to produce on offense.
Yeah, unless they have to go to third string. That's Ian Book, by the way.
I just remember him from Notre Dame, so I don't know much else about him.
Right. Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave are the 3 projected.
They added Juice. That's right.
Yeah, so that's going to be good. I mean, I think they're going to be right there with the Buccaneers in terms of offense. It's just a matter of whether the pass defense can shut down. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I mean, Cameron Jordan's still there. He's trouble. Tyrann Mathieu, if you like the Honey Badger, I don't know. They're okay. I think
they also picked up Daniel Sorensen from the Chiefs. He's playing safety for them now.
Right.
He's like the only white guy safety in the league. He's fantastic.
Not that race matters, but
it's just unique. There's not that many of them.
It's interesting, yeah, for sure. We're not saying white guys are slow, but some of them are.
Well, the last one I can remember was John Boyette, and he played for the Colts.
Yeah,
and he did not do well. He was bad.
Well, yeah, that's true. All right, so the Saints are there. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons for just a minute. Marcus Mariota is now an Atlanta Falcon. And who else? Because let's be honest, there's nobody else. I'm looking at the roster depth chart, whatever. Drake London out of USC joins. They got Cordarrelle Patterson.
Could be big, yeah.
Cordarrelle Patterson is listed as their number 1 running back.
Cordarrelle Patterson won me a fantasy title last year.
Yeah.
Because all that man did was score touchdowns in any way possible. Kick returns, punt returns, running, receiving. He threw 2. Like, what the hell?
He is a kick return. He is very versatile. Let's be honest. That's yes. And Kyle Pitts at tight end, and I think that's a good option for Mariota, who's really good at throwing to tight ends. This is gonna be an interesting team in Atlanta. I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna get. It's a team that's really doesn't have that many stars on it.
It has a bunch of kind of like budding stars, but you're not sure if they're actually gonna develop or not.
Right. I don't know what to make of this team and how Desmond Ridder is the backup quarterback. If Marcus Mariota wins the starting job, and assuming he does,
they've already announced him as starting quarterback for Game 1 of the regular season.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, they said it in the summer, and then after the first day of practice, they announced it again.
Yeah, I believe.
So I don't know if that'll sustain, but as long as he's being successful, it should.
Still believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that's true. I really want that Mariota Ravens jersey.
They had 7 wins last year. They were 7-10. The Falcons were 7-10 last year. However, none of them were over teams that were in the playoffs. That made the playoffs. Yeah, so not great. And last year, by the way, Atlanta Falcons had 18 quarterback sacks as a team, right? Which was dead last. The next team up, Philadelphia, had 29. So they were last by a long stretch.
Wait, so they protected their quarterback? Or are you saying defensively
they got to the quarterback? They got 18 sacks.
They did not get to the quarterback.
They did not get to the quarterback.
Gotcha. I thought you were saying they only gave up 18. I'm like, wait a minute. That's
good. No, that's really good. That would be tops. But no, 18 defensively, 18 sacks, and was last by 11. So they need to do something. They need to get something going defensively if they're going to compete at all. But 7-10 was not a bad record, but that was under Matt Ryan. We don't know how good they're going to be, and Julio Jones and whatever. So we'll find out more about the Atlanta.
They've got some good defensive pieces. Like they'd added Casey Hayward and a couple other guys. You're just not sure if any of them are
great.
Like, you're still kind of Casey Hayward's good. Grady Jarrett's really good, but a lot of these other guys, I'm like, Auden Tate. Like I know about him. Is he going to be good on offense? Or AJ Terrell? Is he going to be good on defense? I don't know.
Don't know. You're right.
Don't know.
You don't know. I agree with you. It's one of those
They're going to be. I've already pegged them, and not just because of Marcus Mariota, but I've already pegged them as the most interesting team to watch this year.
Could be
alongside the Colts.
Awesome. Yeah, the Colts are going to. Well, we'll talk about them next week. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers, which also might be interesting to watch. They may be the second most interesting team because of the quarterback controversy that has now. It's not really controversy. Quarterback competition. Let's call it that. Right between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Right, and I'll be honest with you, Baker Mayfield should win that hands down from what I've seen. Of Sam Darnold. Not that he's terrible. He's just Sam Darnold. I don't know. They were the number 2 defense in terms of total yards in the NFC last year, the Carolina Panthers, at 5-12. Which you'd think, and you would think that would be, lead to something, but Christian McCaffrey, who is, when he's on the field and healthy, is probably the most explosive person in football. But again, when he's healthy. That's been a big problem for Christian McCaffrey. I don't know how many more years he's got left. Of playing NFL football, because if you get hurt every year,
him not staying on the field is not good.
Not good. You look at their lineup: DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, wide receivers. Tommy Tremble is their started listing tight end. What? Tommy Tremble?
Hey, good old Tommy T, baby.
I don't know, man. I don't know who that is. But their defense is going to be good. I mean, it's going to be good. It was last year. They haven't given up a whole lot. J.C. Horn at cornerback. Shaq Thompson, linebacker. They got some young players. They're going to be good. It's a matter of, can Baker Mayfield move Christian McCaffrey or Chuba Hubbard downfield? Can they? Chuba Hubbard's not a bad back. So
I thought they should lean on him more and run a dual back set more often.
Yeah. They have Dante Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, Christian McCaffrey. They're kind of running back rich. It's kind of like the Denver Broncos of the NFC.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how that'll all work out, but this will be an interesting team to watch also because they were 5-12 last year. So I don't know. So if you're picking the NFC South, Tampa.
Tampa until they prove otherwise.
I think
I'd say this is closer than the NFC East.
You think the Saints are right there?
I think the Saints are a lot closer to knocking off Tampa than Philly is to knocking off Dallas.
Will the Saints make the playoffs?
Yes.
So the Saints are a playoff team. Will the Falcons make the playoffs?
No.
Okay. So we've got 3 playoff teams right now. I got the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, and the Saints.
That's out of what? We get 8?
That's 8. Well, we get 7 to make the playoffs, right?
7? I thought they added 1.
Did they add 1 this year? Because it was
I
7
thought they added 1. Oh, okay, then never mind. We'll just
it used to
7.
be 6.
I thought
they added a 7.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was 6. They added 7. They
Yeah.
went to 7. I thought it was 7, and they went to 8. Sorry.
No, so they got 7. So we got 3 of them, which means we need 4 more for the rest of the. And that may be right. Just but what I'm looking at here, that may be right.
Yep.
So as we move along, we're talking about the NFC North, right? And we got to start with the Green Bay Packers. 13-4 last year. They lost in the divisional round to San Francisco, 13-10 in one of those good football games. It was entertaining because of the ending, but the whole game was kind of boring because no one could score or do anything. But I mean, it was a good football game to watch. Matt LaFleur, by the way, has the highest winning percentage among active coaches. He's 30.
Really?
He's 39-10. Yeah,
huh.
As a head coach of the Packers in 3 seasons. That's pretty good. Now it hasn't equated.
Really
it hasn't equated to a Super Bowl or, but they're there. They have Aaron Rodgers returning. They did lose, a big wide receiver.
Just one.
Just one. But I don't know. What they've got is they got Alan Lazard, Christian Watson, Sammy Watkins. Mm-hmm. Okay, Robert Tonyan at tight end. Their offensive line is good still. Bakhtiari, Runyon, those guys have been around for a long time. Mason Crosby, probably one of the most reliable kickers in football. Still, and we haven't talked about special teams really, other than Cordarrelle Patterson is one of those guys. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know about this team being 13-4. They were number 1 in the NFC last year. They officially finished as the number 1 team in the NFC last year. I don't know how much I like this team. Randall Cobb's still on this team too for the offense.
Right.
A.J. Dillon, backup running back. I don't know. Defensively, the names don't jump off the page at me.
But every year they don't.
It's true. It's true.
And yet they managed to pull it together just a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a when you look at it, and anybody can go look at it. When you look at it, it's not a list of who's who of defensive players. Not that you need that or have to have that, but it was more comfortable when you have those players and you go, yeah, this is a great player. I don't know. I don't know about this team.
All I know is that they got a receiver from Portland. Samori Toure, Toure, Toure. He's from Westview. So
well, there you go.
I'm gonna root for him.
Well, yeah, you should. He might never see the field, but yeah, he's there.
Yeah, he played at Nebraska, so he was drafted this year.
Yeah, there's gonna be I don't know. We'll see how good this team is. I'm gonna say this division has a lot of intrigue for me in terms of if Green Bay stumbles, can the next team, which is Minnesota, who we're about to talk about, Minnesota 8-9 last year. They have new head coach Kevin O'Connell. They still have Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson on offense. Justin Jefferson's a beast, considering who's throwing the football to him, I think.
Right.
I feel like he could. What could he do on a team with I don't know. Not that Kirk Cousins is bad. I just don't think Kirk Cousins is on the same level as some of the other people in the NFL. 1,600 yards last year for Justin Jefferson. 108 catches, 1,600 yards. Second leading receiver in the NFL. 10 touchdowns.
Right.
So any other year that would have led the league, other than the fact that there's that other guy in L.A. So I don't know. The Vikings are, I don't know, linebacker Eric Kendricks. Vikings need to do something defensively to step up. I think that's their problem, is their defense. They're
Which is crazy because they've got some fantastic defensive pieces.
Yeah, and yeah, agreed. But they were, let's see, let me find them. They were 30th out of 32 teams in terms of total yards given up last year. So I mean, that's
do better.
You got to do better than that. Yeah,
win 2 more games.
Well, that's all you really got to do, and that's why I say this is interesting because I feel like Minnesota was they were number 5 in terms of yards given up passing, right? They were the 5th worst in terms of yards given up passing, and they were 7th worst in terms of yards given up rushing. So you got to improve all the way around. The defense has to improve everywhere. If the defense improves, they can get a couple more wins from a team that went 8-9, and if you can steal one from Green Bay, and I don't know the rest of the division. We'll talk about them in a minute, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I think they're going to be interesting. I think they got a lot of pieces.
Yeah, we'll see. Adam Thielen's gone too, so isn't Adam Thielen gone? I think he's gone.
Thielen's still there.
Is he still there?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure. Let me double check real quick.
Oh yeah, he's still there.
Yep, he's still there. Yeah,
he's still there. So he's now the number 2 wide receiver behind Justin Jefferson, right? Because Jefferson's got.
Or no, he's the number 1.
Okay, I feel like Jefferson's probably going to be he's the number 1 in terms of targets and yards and all that stuff. But I mean, yeah, the number 2 in terms of position. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Like
yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know. Kirk Cousins. Maybe Minnesota needs to upgrade the quarterback a little bit. And Kirk Cousins is good, but maybe they need something to get them moving forward is kind of what I'm feeling like. I don't know.
The problem is you have to have something like guaranteed better.
Well, that's true,
and
too.
He's good enough, like he's beyond good enough, that you're like, well, do we want to take a chance drafting someone? Or do we want to take a chance trading for a quarterback? Like, unless you know they're better, unless you're trading for Tom Brady or you're trading for Aaron Rodgers or you're trading for somebody who's put it on the field and proven it, why would you get rid of him for any question marks?
And it's funny because when I look at his numbers, I know he's good. I see it. I can tell. He's 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year, a quarterback rating of 103. 66% completion percentage, right? The year before it was 67% completion percentage, 35 touchdowns. And I get it. His last 3 years, his rating has been over 100. What's missing, though? Why is there something missing in Minnesota? What is it that they're missing? Is it just defense? They can't play defense?
Okay. Seems like it.
All right. Well, maybe they just need to figure out a way to boost the defense, and maybe they'll figure it out. I don't know. Kirk Cousins just has never impressed me as like the winning quarterback. You know what I mean? They just, whatever team he's on, and maybe it's just the matter of the teams that he's been on, just don't seem to win football games that much.
They're kind of a grinded out team. They're not very flashy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. Well, anyway, we're also going to talk about Chicago Bears. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears. Matt Eberflus, the new head coach. They got a lot of questions. The Chicago Bears, I don't even know really where to begin. Justin Fields, I guess, is where we should begin.
Yep.
Is Justin Fields an NFL quarterback? Is he going to be good enough? And is it just the team that he's on right now that's causing the grief? You know what I mean? If he's on a better team, he would have a better chance to look better. But look at the team that's around him. His wide receivers, Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, Velus Jones Jr., N'Keal Harry, but N'Keal Harry hasn't been that good. They do have Equanimous St. Brown, so there's that. I don't know.
They could take a huge step forward with adding Byron Pringle, because I've always thought Byron Pringle was a better receiver than he was getting touches for, or could get touches for, at Kansas City.
He did average 13.5 yards reception, so
I think he's really good and he's really fast, and I think that he was underused there. But they had a wealth of receivers at Kansas City, so they didn't have to worry. But yeah. I think they should take a step forward. I don't know if Justin Fields is an NFL quarterback yet. I think I need 2 more years before I can make that decision.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we need to see him for a full season. He played 12 games last year, 58.9% completion percentage. He had 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Yeah, they need to give him the keys and let him have the keys from the start, from the get-go. Let's not play this game. Let's not pretend, which they're not going to this year, so that's good.
He did run for 5.8 yards a carry, so 420 yards and a couple of touchdowns. So he can run the football, too, which, is kind of the way the NFL is going in general. Everybody's a mobile quarterback. Got to be able to run some, right? but I feel like I don't know. I need to see more. We're gonna need to see the whole season, a whole body of work, because I don't know what he's capable of doing. And then of course part of that's the team around him. And if the team around him isn't any good, how do you prove yourself? You know,
Exactly.
that makes it tough. Anyway, let's talk about the Detroit Lions because
Detroit Lions.
Eesh. And we can start with Jared Goff if you want. It doesn't really matter who we talk about. They had a really bad year. That was a 3-13-1 team last year, and they won their.
I am not sold that was not a tank season.
And they won their last 2 games.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what do I always say, right? You tank your way through the beginning of the season, right, with a couple close games here and there, but mostly just losing. And then towards the end, you win a couple, you show uptick, you sell season tickets for the next year, you go out and make a big draft pick, and then you try and do something with it. I think that they were tanking last year.
Oh, I was wrong. They won 3 out of their last 6. How about that?
Sell
Right.
them tickets.
They did.
I'm telling you, they were tanking last year.
And they beat Arizona, which was one of those games. They beat Arizona, Green Bay, and Minnesota.
It hypes you up to see them what they can do.
Yeah. It's interesting. They did also give up 51 points to Seattle in Seattle late in the season. I don't know. I don't know. Jared Goff was less than impressive, but it was a team that wasn't very good. You got Penei Sewell back for a second season on the offensive line. You got Hutchinson playing defensive end. We'll see if he's any good as a rookie. I don't know how good he was, other than he looked good at Michigan, but I don't know how good he is. This team is going to be interesting. I think their defensive backs are good. Detroit's defensive secondary, Okuda, is going to be a good defensive back. He's going to be really good.
Right.
But I don't know how good as a team defensively. They're going to have to get better defensively. They gave up a lot of points last year. And Aiden Hutchinson might be the guy. Maybe he is. Maybe he's that guy that's going to put pressure and cause issues, and I don't know, but we're going to have to find out. There's not much to talk about with the Lions until they show that they can do something. And how long do they go with Jared Goff? He's the best thing they could get, and they're tied to him now. But is he? This is a guy that was in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Right? Played in the Super Bowl, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? 3 years ago?
4 years.
Has it been 4 now? Okay. He played in the Super Bowl, and now he's on the last place team, and I'm questioning whether he's good enough to lead the last place team.
You want to hear this? He had his highest completion rating of his NFL career last year.
Yeah.
He threw 19 touchdowns and 8 picks, which was his second lowest touchdown throws, but also it was third from the bottom in terms of picks. So he actually had a pretty good year. His second lowest interception percentage of his career. They were tanking.
Okay.
I'm a full belief with this.
Okay.
They have too many weird pieces, like weird in a good way. Too many weird pieces to have not done better than they did.
Okay.
And then they won a couple strange games that they should not have won. Tanking.
Okay.
So
there you go.
Investigate, Goodell. You heard it here first.
We're going to find out.
Conspiracy theory.
In that division, who wins the division this year?
Green Bay until somebody else proves otherwise.
So we're going to go with Green Bay. Is Minnesota making the playoffs?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know what I'm about to do.
Well, yeah, that's I don't even know if that's possible.
I think yeah, this next division is gonna blow it up.
Okay, let's cover it now. So the NFC West, and we're gonna start with the top, and that's the defending champions, the Rams. 12-5 last year. They were actually third in the NFC last year, just one game behind the Buccaneers and Packers, but they won the Super Bowl over Cincinnati 23-20. Won a couple of heart-stopping games along the way. Sean McVay, starting his 6th season, he's 55-26 with 3 division titles, 2 conference championships, and a Super Bowl. You obviously have Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp. The defense looks probably as good as you could ask for in terms of players. Star names: Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Ashawn Robinson, Bobby Wagner, Justin Hollins, Jalen Ramsey, Taylor Rapp. This is a good team. This is a really good defensive football team. I don't know if they have to be awesome offensively, but they're still good offensively. So How do you beat the Rams is the question. What would have to happen for the Rams to take a step back? Is it just injury? Would it be multiple injuries? I mean, because they're good. They just look good on paper.
Yeah, I think that you have to have a sound offensive line, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You have to stop their defense. I think offensively you can beat the Rams. I think deep. I think you can get past their secondary and things like that. You've got Jalen Ramsey and a couple guys back there, but I think it's at the line. You have to be able to keep your quarterback upright, and you have to be able to run the ball. So you need a good running back. You need a good offensive line. I think if you have those two things, you pose a threat to beating them. But I don't think anybody really can.
Right.
I don't think anybody has all of the pieces necessary to make this happen. I mean, you do one thing right. Most teams will have one of those two things. You'll either have a great offensive line or a great running back. Most teams don't have both. Even the Rams, they've got a great offensive line, but they do not have a great running back. So yeah, I think that you have to stop them at the line. You have to give your quarterback time. But as long as Aaron Donald's on the other side of that ball, you will not have that.
So
your best offensive lineman is never going to be as good as him.
and you can't imagine Cooper Kupp will have the same season he had last year. It could be as good, but I can't imagine that he's going to be that good again. I mean, it would be hard to repeat that. Is all I'm saying. Not that he's not good.
Yeah, I'm just saying they added Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner is a big addition. Yeah, I know.
Like that one's blowing my mind. But also they added did they have Allen Robinson at the end of last year?
Ashawn?
No, not Ashawn.
Allen. Oh, Allen, the wide receiver.
I think they added Allen Robinson this year.
Right. Yes, he came from the Bears.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge.
It could be. Yeah, for sure. It would take pressure off of Cooper Kupp. Yeah, but it also, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. That'll be interesting. Interesting dynamic on the field because you're looking at Van Jefferson, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, but the backup, the drop off, if any of those guys get hurt, Skowronek, Tutu Atwell, Brandon Powell. I mean, okay, they're not names They're not names that have proven themselves. I mean, they're young guys, most of them, but anyway, Tyler Higbee, can he stay healthy at tight end? Because he's had a hard time with that. That was a big deal.
Johnny Munt from Oregon got a lot of playing time.
Yeah, he did
there because of those injuries. And also, is Odell coming back? We don't know. He's still a free agent, even though camps have started. We don't know if Odell comes back. And you're starting to look at Cooper Kupp and Odell and Allen Robinson.
Yeah,
that is a tough looking group.
That matches everything the Buccaneers put on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be just as good. I think he's coming back. I don't think he's going to leave, but very interesting.
I think this defense could be the best defense in the NFL, but I'm not 100% sold yet. But I'm close. So just in terms of the pressure they put on up front, the linebackers in the middle, Jalen Ramsey sometimes.
He's a boomer bust cornerback. Either he does a big play or he doesn't do anything.
Right. He has the ability to make a big play when it's necessary. So I mean, there's that. But anyway, this is a good team. We can't overstate that enough. But this is a really good football team. So let's move on. How about Arizona? The Cardinals finished second in the West last year, 11-6, lost in the wild card round to the Rams, 34-11, in a game where Kyler Murray looked terrible, confused. He's got a brand new contract that originally had some studying stipulations and now does not.
Right.
I don't know what all that's about, other than I think they actually want him to study more and become more, get into it more. But now you're going to take it away and say, oh well, it's going to be a distraction. Well,
public pressure will do that.
Right. I mean, I still think, if that's what you need out of your quarterback, then that's what you need out of your quarterback. And we kind of make a deal. Anyway, no big deal.
Also, I like that pointed out that Kyler Murray didn't read the contract.
Right. I mean, obviously.
That's what that all meant, was that he signed it and then found out about it later. Just like you weren't studying, you didn't read your contract.
So I mean, doesn't he have an agent? Isn't there a guy who's supposed to read things for you?
Yeah, and the agent thought that wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, I feel like I would have said, what are you saying about me? You know what I mean?
He's probably managed by Clutch Sports or something.
So let's talk about who they got around Kyler Murray. James Conner at running back, Marquise Brown, A.J. Green, DeAndre Hopkins,
He's suspended this year, right?
Yeah. So 6-game suspension though. So um, if he's healthy and he's got an extra 6 weeks off, then he might be great the last half of the season or last 11 games. I don't know, but this is going to be an interesting team to watch. Rondale Moore, one of those Swiss Army knife guys, out of Purdue. Zach Ertz. I mean, Zach Ertz is still one of the top tight ends in the league. Offensively, they didn't have any issues last year, really. They could score points. That was a team that really didn't have to worry about offensively. Defensively, they've got J.J. Watt, maybe. I mean, and I say that because J.J. Watt can't stay healthy, right?
Right.
Who else is out there? Budda Baker? Budda Baker is one of the hardest hitting safeties you're going to find, but doesn't always translate into great play. He hits well. Sometimes he makes big plays, and then there's other times. But anyway, I don't know, when I look at their offensive line or the defensive line and the defensive backfield and all that stuff, it doesn't jump off the page at you either. So I don't know what to make of it. They're going to have to improve defensively, is what I think.
Yeah.
And how long before J.J. Watt retires?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Depends on if he gets injured again, he's going to retire soon.
Oh yeah.
There's no way he sticks around after enduring another injury. But
he's going into his 12th season. Yeah, 12 is going to be his 12th season in the NFL. His first 5 seasons in Houston, he played all 16 games. He played every game. Since 2016, he's played in 3, 5, 16, 8, 16, 7 games. So the injuries have mounted up, and I'm not sure that he's fully recovered ever, and his numbers aren't nearly what they were back in Houston. 2012, 20 and a half sacks. 2014, 20 and a half sacks. He had 16 sacks in 2018, but his for an example, 27 and a half sacks since 2015 total. 20 and a half sacks in 2014 is what I'm getting at. So he's not nearly the guy he used to be. So it would be interesting to see if he stays healthy. Then they have a good chance to be a different defensive team. But if he's not going to be healthy, then I feel like you either have to get rid of him or he needs to retire. He should retire on his own and realize that he can't play at that level if he keeps getting hurt.
Right,
but
that's not working, yeah.
you would hope that would be the case. But it'd be crappy to just have to say, hey, we got to move on. But you got to do what you got to do. So
very true.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, so Arizona's an interesting team to me. I'm not sure. I think that playoff loss exposed a lot on their team last year. But this is a team that was 7-0 to start the season. Let's start with that, and then went 4-6 in the last 10 games, and squeaked into the playoffs. Really,
just collapsed. Yeah.
Yeah, it just was bad at the end of the year. So anyway, we'll find out more about them, I guess, as the season goes along. I just don't. I'm gonna look at their schedule. I should probably look at their schedule to see. And then of course I can't get to it when I want to. Arizona's schedule is brutal. Starts with the Chiefs, Raiders, and Rams.
Woo! Yeah, the NFC West playing the NFC East or the AFC West.
Yeah,
is a big storyline this year.
It is going to be brutal. I'm looking at the rest of their schedule for the season, and you've got the Saints and the Vikings, the Rams and Niners, obviously, Chargers, Buccaneers. This is going to be rough. So they've got a rough schedule ahead of them, and not that any schedule in the NFL is easy, but
they're just going to be bad. Yeah.
This is going to be tough. They got to be good right out the gate. So anyway, we're going to find out more about them really quickly. Let's talk about the Niners. The Niners literally. Okay, so Niners were 10-7 last year, lost in the conference championship to the Rams. I didn't expect them to get to the conference championship game. They did. They lost 20-17 to the Rams. Here's the quote: "We have moved on to Trey. This is Trey's team." Kyle Shanahan announced last week?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and here's the funny part. I find that okay to say that. Great, we're moving on from Jimmy G. But then what he said later was, that's a business decision, and that's what makes it not awkward. No, it's still awkward. Don't even try and say it's not awkward. I mean, on your end, you're saying, oh, it's just a business decision. It's not awkward. It is still awkward because he's still on your team and you haven't gotten rid of him. If you had traded him and then said, when this is Trey's team, that would not have been awkward. But to have a guy who's led you, right, to the conference championship, right, to a Super Bowl, and say it's not awkward is awkward. So,
well, I don't think you or I are in a position to call it awkward, right? It may sound awkward to us. We would feel awkward, but they've had.
I get it.
If he's saying the truth and they've had conversations with Jimmy, and Jimmy already knows this,
right?
Like, then it's not awkward. Everyone's aware. There's no mystery here. The only mystery was to the press and the fans.
I guess it's still an awkward situation to me. It just seems and looks awkward that you've got this guy that you haven't unloaded yet, for whatever reason. And let's all be honest, he's probably gonna end up in Seattle.
I think that's where he's gonna end up.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Although, if I was the 49ers, I wouldn't be wanting to trade him to Seattle.
Trey Lance was 41 of 71, which is about 57% for 603 yards and 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions last year. Okay, 6.1 yards per play for the Niners was tops in the NFL last year as an offense. Deebo Samuel. Can we talk about Deebo Samuel? Why was he not the MVP last year? He did everything for that team, right? And they turned him into a running back for all intents and purposes, and he was good at it. And I'm like, he meant everything to the way they were going last year.
So did Aaron Rodgers to the Packers.
That's true. I suppose that's true. But it was not. You did not expect Deebo Samuel to be that guy last year. I didn't expect him to be that good at everything that he touched, really. George Kittle. They have George Kittle, right? Might be the best tight end in the NFC. Is that overstatement? I feel like it's pretty close.
No, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead. They had 98 tackles for loss last year, the Niners did. That's number 1 in the NFL. They were good, and they played good defense. They didn't lose games by a bunch. They didn't get blown out. This was a team that was there in every game for the most part. I don't know. How do you feel about the Niners compared to the Rams last year? Because they looked like in the conference championship, they looked even.
I feel like they're taking a step back with their quarterback. I feel like it's gonna cost them 2-3 games.
It could be.
So I don't feel good about them compared to the Rams.
Well,
they're going back.
And by contrast, the Niners start with Chicago, Seattle, and Denver. Those are their first 3 games. And if Seattle hasn't improved their quarterback situation, they could very well be 2-0 or 3-0, depending upon how well Russell Wilson and Denver come out firing. We'll talk about that next week.
It's true.
But after, I'm going to say this: the Niners have, out of their first 6 games, they play 1 playoff team from last year. So they have a really good chance to start well, and then it gets really brutal.
Yeah, it'll go bad fast.
It's brutal, but their first 6 games are very, very winnable if they can compete with the Rams. Anyway, that'll be interesting. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know about the Niners. I don't know about Trey Lance. I haven't seen. Again, it's a Justin Fields situation where you just haven't seen him enough to know if he's that good.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You're just not sure.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. Last but not least, the Seattle Seahawks were 7-10 last year. Drew Lock or Geno Smith or Jimmy G?
If they trade for Jimmy G, it's obviously going to be Jimmy G. But I think it's going to be Geno Smith.
Okay. They picked up Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State.
I think that was a good pickup considering Chris Carson just retired.
So there's probably no more running back by committee. I'm hoping that they don't do it that way for their sake.
I think they're going to lean on Penny as their starter with Walker to spell him.
Could be. Rashad Penny, last year 749 yards rushing. He averaged 6.3 yards a carry. And if you're averaging 6.3 yards a carry, how can we get the ball more? Is my question on a team that was losing anyway. I don't know. Seems weird to me. It's weird when you read the numbers because they don't always tell the whole story, and I get that. But if you're averaging if I had a guy on my team that was averaging 6.3 yards every time he touched the football, he would touch the football a lot.
A lot.
So there's that. And didn't he get hurt last year, I think? I can't remember exactly. How many games did he play in last year? I'm about to look. He only played in 10 games last year, yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone's gotten hurt at some point or another.
Yeah, Seattle, he hasn't played a full season since he's been in the league, since 2018. Just FYI. So there's that. But anyway, I don't know. Seattle is one of those teams I feel is really, Bobby Wagner's gone. They've
TJ
got
Wright's gone.
yeah.
He was gone last year, but he's gone. He's
Right.
officially not coming back.
They did pick up Uchenna Nwosu from the Chargers on the defensive end. I think that's pretty good. That's a good pickup.
He just came from a team with one of the worst running defenses in the league.
He's not that kind of defensive end though. But I think he was a really good young player, and the Chargers gave him up because he can't sign everybody, obviously. But Jamal Adams is what he is. You can talk about him and say that he's, not great or not worth the money they paid for him, which maybe he wasn't. He had 2 interceptions last year, 87 tackles. At times looked good, and at times looked like just kind of meh.
Then at other times got hurt.
And at other times got hurt. He played in 12 games. He's been there 2 years now. Played in 12 games both seasons. So the thing that stands out to me about Jamal Adams was he had 9.5 sacks in 2020 with Seattle.
Yeah.
He had 0 last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you using him differently? Because all the other
either that or it's people are reading it.
Oh,
properly.
could be picking him up. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the best safety. He's not a ball hawk. He's not going to snatch things out of the air unless it's pretty much straight to him. Yeah. He's athletic for sure, and he's a big hitter. He can punch balls loose. But his primary, he's essentially a defensive end. He's an auxiliary defensive end with a little more speed and a little less size.
He's a safety blitzer. That's what he does.
He's a safety blitzer. He comes in after the quarterback, and so if he's not getting sacks, there is no need to pay him what you're paying him. There is no need to keep him on your roster. Right. If this year goes through and he does not get 8, 9, 10 sacks, he needs to go.
Right.
He is a roster. He's a cap space monster who underperforms and has underperformed since like his 3rd year in New York.
Well, Quandre Diggs, 5 interceptions last year, 94 tackles.
Great, yeah.
He's great. That's a solid piece. I think Jordan Brooks at linebacker, 184 tackles last year. He had a sack, a fumble recover. He's one of those guys he's a tackling machine. 184 tackles, a lot of.
So he's a run stopper, but he's second level is what's happening there. Though.
Yeah, that's the problem.
A ton of tackles because their line was terrible.
You need to get some guys on the defensive line that can stop something. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if their defense can shore up just a little, and if they can start scoring points when they have the ball. Because last year that was a concern for Seattle, really.
Even when Russ was on the field, they were having trouble, but that was because their line was not great.
It's true. You're right. And I don't know where they're going to go. I mean, offensively, there was, let's see, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the games where they scored 6 of the games where they scored 17 points or less. And you got to score in this league. You got to score 24, 27 points a game to win.
Put up points.
Yeah, you got to put up points. This is an offensive-driven league. So we'll find out more about the Seattle Seahawks. They start the season with Denver, and on a Monday night, right? Isn't it a Monday night game? Yeah, that's going to be fantastic.
Monday night at 5:15. I'm taking it off, and I'm watching it with my Seahawks friends.
They did that on purpose, right?
Oh, hell yeah,
the NFL did that on purpose because that didn't come up at
highlight
random.
Of the Seahawks season.
Yeah, right off the bat. Because we don't know how good the Seahawks are going to be. They may be terrible. They may go 1-15 or something, or who knows. But that first game is going to be, Seahawks against Russell, and that's all anybody's paying to see.
And it's got every storyline that you want, right? If the Seahawks win, it was like the Seahawks are fine without Russ. If the Seahawks lose, it goes, is this the end of the era for Pete Carroll? If the Broncos win, it's Broncos, and Russ, Super Bowl bound. And if the Broncos lose, it goes not gelling. Like, what headline do you want? You'll get it out of this game.
It's funny. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Their schedule is favorable in terms of Detroit, the Giants. They've got the Jets are on here.
They're always playing garbage teams.
Carolina's on here. I mean, but they've got a lot of tough games too. They don't have any stretches where they're playing really, really bad teams in a row. So I feel like there's no chance to get comfortable offensively. You play in Denver right off the bat, okay, and then you got San Francisco, Atlanta, Detroit, which are two easier teams. Maybe Atlanta is better than you. New Orleans, Arizona, the Chargers. You know what I mean? It's just kind of rough to get going, and the whole NFC is that way. So I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be surprised because the NFC has a lot of good football teams in it too. So, all right. So we talked about everybody. All right, and in this division, the winner's going to be.
The winner's going to be the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay, I think so too. And so the playoff teams will be the Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
And the Niners.
And I'm going to guess the Niners. Yep.
Okay.
And I'm going to guess that Niners is a fringe one. Like if they get in, if they don't get in, then we're going to pluck one of those teams from the last division. I think that what's it called? Minnesota gets in. But but I'm expecting them to get in.
So who's going to have the best record in the NFC?
The Rams.
So we're going to talk. The LA Rams are going to be the number 1 seed.
Number 1 seed in the NFC.
Behind them is going to be Tampa.
Tampa.
I thought so too. And then behind them, we got to have a division. The two other division winners are going to be the other 2 seeds, 3 and 4 seeds. So that's going to leave us with Green Bay and then Dallas.
Yep. There's 1 through 4.
Okay, and now we're going to the other 3, the playoff teams, which we have listed as the Saints and the Niners and the Cardinals. So which one, Saints or Cardinals, is the 5 seed?
Cardinals.
Okay, Arizona and then New Orleans.
Cardinals, Saints, and
then San Francisco. And if you had to put money on it right now, who wins the NFC Championship this year?
The Rams.
Okay, defending their title. Okay,
until they prove otherwise.
Okay, got it. That's it. I kind of agree with you. I think the Rams are going to win it. Again, I think they're the best team top to bottom. So
yeah, I mean Tampa obviously poses a big threat for on both sides of the ball, but I don't see anybody doing what they did.
Right.
So
yeah, I think it's funny when I say it. I think Tampa Bay's. I think Tom Brady's too old. I say that in that he's fantastic and he does these things that I can't do, and I admire the fact that he's there and still doing it at his age. But what I think is, if you watched him last year, anytime he gets pressure now, it's a flinch. You know what I mean?
He's lost a step.
He's going down. I mean, there's pressure around me. Let me fall. I'm going to tuck it and fall down. And he's been doing that for a couple of years, but last year it seemed more prominent, and a lot of errant throws at times where he needed to step up and make a big throw in the face of pressure, and he didn't. Not as much as he used to. I think he's just lost the step. So I think he's getting too old to be that guy. Green Bay has nobody around Aaron Rodgers. He's going to have to do it all himself for the most part. Dallas is a head case.
Yeah.
I mean, if they win, it's because they figure it out and straighten their heads out. If they don't, it's just because that's typical Dallas Cowboys, and you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then the playoff teams are a crapshoot.
Yeah.
I don't think Arizona, New Orleans, or San Francisco, you could tell me right now, was going to win the NFC, and I'd say, oh, okay.
None of them are locks. I think Arizona's the closest to a lock for a playoff spot, but none of them are really locks. Right. If you could easily convince me that Minnesota or Detroit, if they were tanking, if you see that early, you could easily convince me that one of these other teams is going to get in there, that Philly could sneak in or something. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's that. That's the NFC. And we'll talk about the AFC like this next week or this coming week at some point in time. The Hall of Fame game is Thursday. So it's like we're gonna get to see all the great players for who's playing in the Hall of Fame game, and I don't even have it here. It's about to pop up. Jacksonville and Las Vegas. We're gonna see all these great players on the field for 6 plays at the Hall of Fame game. One series each, maybe. Or they won't, or they'll just sit out because they don't want to get them hurt, which has kind of been the trend recently. I don't know. I don't know about that. Preseason week 1. I mean, preseason doesn't mean much, does it? To anybody? Does anybody care?
It rounds out your roster. It's very important past your first 22, which is very important midseason.
I think preseason week 2 is the one you want to watch. You're going to see the bigger name players play more. Preseason week 3 is about guys making a roster for the last chance, right? Preseason week 1 is let's not get anybody hurt. So preseason week,
that's the game the whole time.
Yeah, preseason week 2 is the one if you're going to watch any of the preseason games. That's a thing. And by the way, if you're looking at the schedules, looking at StubHub or somewhere, you can get a ticket to any preseason game for next to nothing, with the exception of Las Vegas and Denver. By the way, Apparently those places are expensive to get a ticket.
Vegas is currently paying off a pretty sizable mortgage.
Yeah. So, but you can. I mean, shoot, you want to go watch Miami play? $6. You can get in. Anyway, so there's that. Let's go to the trivia question because we had the trivia question at the beginning, and you said that you knew it.
Yep.
And I don't believe you. I don't know, but where's my trivia question thing? See, I don't know what I'm doing. The Best Lamb Sports Show trivia question brought to you by Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. Go see them at the winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, 7 days a week from 12 to 6. Downtown tasting room is open 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. Go to staveandstone.com. Check out their selection of award-winning wines, or you can make a reservation and go taste for yourself. You can call them 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Or email them info@staveandstone.com for more information. Stave and Stone, winner of the 2021 Best Local Winery in the Best of the Gorge Awards. So, trivia question was, only one time in the history of the NFL has the Associated Press Coach of the Year had a losing record. And they've been handing this out since 1957. What coach and what year was that? You know this?
I know the coach. I don't know the year.
What coach?
It's Jimmy Johnson.
It is Jimmy Johnson. And this, I got the wrong. Why is my trivia question answer not right?
I don't know.
I got Cal Ripken still up there from last week.
Oh,
Jimmy Johnson, 1990.
90.
The Dallas Cowboys were 7-9 after going 1-15 the previous year.
That's a big improvement.
It's a big improvement. That coaching staff included Dave Wanstedt, Butch Davis, Dave Campo, David Shula. All those guys played or coached.
Whole bunch of Daves?
Whole bunch of Daves, but they all, yeah, well, Dave, Davis, Dave and David. Yeah.
Oh. Cool.
They all ended up being NFL head coaches at some point in time. So, yeah. So anyway, that was a big deal. I mean, I guess.
I knew it was him during Mike Vrabel's ceremony last year. They mentioned it like the coverage.
Yeah. I didn't have my music. I was trying to get my music up. Oh. So, yeah, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that one on. I mean, I guess so. I just kind of pulled it out because I was looking at Coach of the Year from the last few years and
sure.
what their criteria was to be Coach of the Year. Right. I was trying to figure out if Coaches of the Years ever won Super Bowls. Right.
Oh.
Because, but they have, and it used to be more common than it is now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Bill Belichick won it a couple times and won the Super Bowl. But it hasn't happened recently, like in the last 7 or 8, 9 years. That's not a normal thing. That the Coach of the Year would win the Super Bowl. So I'm thinking, man, you lead your team to the Super Bowl when you weren't expected to. You're Coach of the Year, right? Apparently not. So anyway, I thought it would be an interesting question, but
it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm working on it. All right, so you got anything you want to talk about before we go out?
Negative. You know the music's playing, right?
I do. I had it on.
Yep.
It's not going to...
Nothing to talk about today.
Okay, perfect. So, again, we're on YouTube every week. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can email us, lambsports@gmail.com. And we're going to be back next week or later this week, and I'll post it on Facebook at some point in time and let everybody know that we're going to do the AFC preview show. We'll also talk about Formula One racing. Had a race today. We're talking about that, and they're in their summer break now. We'll also update you on anything that happens in the Brittney Griner situation. We're going to update you on the Portland Timbers. We'll talk about Major League Baseball and the division winners. We're going to reach a point here in a little bit, in another week or so, where we don't have nothing to talk about. But anyway, we want to thank our sponsors, the Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarns, and Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Tree Media. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.